This episode of FilmRiot is brought to you by Domain.com.
Today on FilmRiot, we look at 3 different methods for masking in Roto. Welcome to FilmRiot, the show that takes mystery out of the effects and techniques going to some of your favorite Hollywood films. I'm your host, Ryan Conley. And for some people, Roto can be a real pain. Although, to be honest, for me, I kind of like it. I just throw on some music and mask away. However, there are methods to help you speed up that process and get better results. If you don't know what Roto is, basically it's just masking out an object or character from your shot. The difference is it's in motion, either because the camera is moving or the object itself is in motion. So you need to animate that mask to move with the object or character you're cutting out. And I actually often like Roto more than green screen with certain effects because it does end up looking a little more realistic if handled correctly. To do this, we're going to take a look at rotoing this shot right here. And like I said above, we're going to be using 3 different methods because we have 3 of them. Now, before getting started with any of these techniques, the main things to keep in mind are, make sure you analyze your footage first so that you have a plan of attack. Don't just start on the first frame. Second, it's easier to manage multiple simple masks, splines, and mats than it is to manage one giant complex mask. So you'll want to break it down into simple parts. Third, save your file early and often. There's nothing worse than spending a ton of time painstakingly rotoing a complex movement just to lose it all from software crashing. So don't trust your software, save. And finally, start with the frame that has the most information and then work backward or forward from there. And with that in mind, we start with our first technique, which is traditional rotoscoping. A big mistake to make is making changes on every single frame, just going frame by frame to adjust your mask. This will not only take you a lot longer, but you're not gonna get the best result that way. What you wanna do instead is look for patterns of change. In our example, the camera is moving at a pretty consistent speed and the object that needs to be masked isn't moving at all. Because of this, our job's gonna be made a lot easier because the rate of change is very small. If we go to somewhere around frame 72 in our shot, you can see that there are 2 giant legs, and we're only gonna be worried about the lower 2/3 of the frame here since that's the only area that interacts with our robot. So we end up making 1 mask on the right leg first because it's in the shot the longest. Now, because our movement is pretty consistent, we can actually go to the first frame where the leg first appears in our shot, set our mask, and then to the last frame where it vanishes, and again, adjust the mask. And now all we have to do is make changes to the mask where it's needed as we play through these 2 points. And if you look closely, you can see that the legs are a touch out of focus. Luckily, our focus doesn't actually shift within this shot, so all we have to do is soften the mask a bit after we roto the shape. That way we're getting that nice soft blurred edge like we should and not a hard edge. After that, we just repeat the same thing on the other leg. And you might think that there's more to it than that, but there isn't. It's really a simple technique. The only thing that makes it difficult is the time that it can take depending on the shot. Next up is rotoscoping using Mocha, and all the same rules apply for the traditional rotoscoping as they do here. However, this method is way easier because it does one of the most annoying parts for you. It tracks the object so you don't have to. So all you have to do is make your mask, let it track, and just make adjustments when the track starts to look off. And if you're using After Effects, you're gonna go to Animation, Track in Mocha AE. Once in Mocha, I went to frame 72 again and drew my mask using an X-spline. Now all we need to do is hit the track forward button and let Mocha do all the hard work for us. Again, only stopping it to make adjustments to our spline. After you're done here, making the masking adjustments to the track, which Mocha automatically sets keyframes when you do make those adjustments, you're ready to export the mask back to After Effects using shape data for AE. I love this method because it will paste splines that you can still edit in After Effects. So now all you need to do is click Copy to Clipboard and go back to After Effects. Now in After Effects, you're gonna select your footage layer and then go to the first frame, then go to Edit, Paste Mocha Mask. So now you have your mask, and just like the previous example, because it's a standard After Effects mask, you can still mess with the feathering. The one thing to be sure of here is that you're pasting the mask on the very first frame. Even if you don't start with that, Mocha sets the keyframes for the entire sequence, so you always need to paste on frame 1. But there we have Roto the old school way and how you would do it using Mocha, which for me, Mocha is the best way to do this type of work. It makes it really, really simple. But now we're gonna take a quick break and then look at our last method. If you're a budding filmmaker, entrepreneur, innovator, Domain.com is a place to go when that next idea hits you. I know you probably heard the available list of domain extensions is growing, but you now have the opportunity to name your site and build your brand in ways that were never before possible. Choose from a growing list of 400 plus domain name extensions like .com, .org, .design, and .club. And to show you some love, they're giving you 25% off their already affordable prices. Buy domain names, web hosting, and email. Just use the coupon code FilmRiot at Domain.com's checkout and get you some savings. And when you think domain names, think Domain.com.
Logo.
Jumping right back in, the last method we are going to look at is After Effects' built-in Roto brush tool. To access this, double-click your footage layer and then click up here. You will click the brush and then paint around the area you want to roto, like so. As you can see, this is not always the most accurate, but can be useful in the right situations. And just for a tip while using it, when you have the brush, if you hold down Control, then left-click your mouse and drag, you can change the size of the brush for more or less detail while painting. To delete parts you don't want in the mask, hold down Alt and then paint them out. Just like in Mocha, you're gonna have to make brush refinements later, but with some love put in, you can definitely get some solid results. Now, if you click the Composition tab at the top to return to your original comp, you'll be brought back to the original comp with your matte applied. Then back in the original composition, you can mess with the matte created by Roto brush using its settings. One of the settings we messed with was motion blur, which is a great feature to almost get automatic matte feathering. So even with just a rough matte, you can refine it to work pretty easily. Just keep in mind that, like using Mocha, the matte will be thrown off sometimes, so you're just gonna have to paint out those areas. And the reduced chatter setting is what will help smooth out the movement, wiggle, and swimming that you often get with those edges. But now here's what we have. So that's it for today. 3 techniques for better roto, and if you have any questions on any of that, Stark is actually our FilmRiot roto expert, so you can hit him up on Twitter right here. And I'll see you guys next week when no one knows that there's a dead body hidden at my dinner party.